Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Great to have you back joining another Friday. Happy Friday to all of you, the 13th of August. It's crazy, Friday the 13th.
It's Friday the 13th.
I don't like to say that too often. It maybe happens once or twice a year that something lands on Friday the 13th, but hope that you're all well and that you are this transition back to school. I've been seeing the news, passing school buses for school orientation in the morning to my way to grab some coffee. So we are back in person. This time a year ago, we were all at home doing school virtually. And so those parents who, putting their children on the bus, best of luck this semester, fingers crossed, saying prayers for all of our young ones and their health and safety. But excited to be back kind of amongst people again, sitting at home for so long. Took a wear and tear on some of us, especially those extroverts. Needless to say, I want to kind of get into today's discussion. As you all know, these are great ways for us to build traction for our Equity Summit, which is in February. Hoping that all of you plan on purchasing a ticket to that event. Last year was phenomenal. This year is going to be even better. But it's February 8th through the 10th. You can go to theequitysummit.com and you can purchase your tickets there. 3 days full of dynamic speakers from business and education, talking about ways in which to provide a stronger presence of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workspace, talking about recruitment, talking about retention, talking about creating safe and brave spaces in the work environment for all people, right? This is the reason why we do this. But we have a phenomenal guest speaker today, great friend, brother of mine, known each other for some time, and I am elated just to see his growth. He is now in a vice president position for a very dynamic and progressive organization in New York. So grateful to have Eric Winkfield here. And so Eric, I want to kind of give you just a few moments to kind of introduce yourself to our listening audience, and then I'm going to kind of go into some of the questions I have for you.
Sounds good. Listen, I need to have you introduce me everywhere I have to go to speak because I can't do that. But no, hello everybody. My name is Eric Winkfield. I'm a Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategy at MBooth and MBooth Health. We are a full service communications agency based in New York, servicing clients all from American Express, Pfizer, P&G, as well as the CDC. And so our teams do amazing work to really advance certain conversations, but also represent the brands that we services and support day in and day out. And so really excited to be here, to be a part of this conversation. Dr. Otley is a dear brother and friend, as he shared earlier, and just really excited to see the conversations that take place at the Equity Summit. Since I participated into it last year, and it was dynamic and it was phenomenal. And really excited to see it happen again this year and even the years to come. So if you have not purchased your ticket, be sure to do so.
Appreciate that, Eric. Just a couple of questions, and one just came to mind as soon as you were kind of sharing about your phenomenal role that you're in. You're certainly a change agent and a trailblazer in this space. And of all the clients you work with in business corporate space, what seems to be like reoccurring themes about diversity, equity, inclusion in the workplace?
You know, the reoccurring theme is that the time is now, and actually the time was yesterday. There's a lot of authenticity happening with the clients that I'm working with, and like really being honest with us as their counselors and saying, you know, we have not always been the best in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but we want to put the past where it is, but also figure out how do we move forward in a real and authentic way. And I think that's one of the most humbling things that I have been able to experience in this role, is to kind of have those conversations with clients who are like multi-million-dollar brands, right? and are saying that, we want to be better. And we want to be better, not only because it's good business sense, but it's just the right thing to do. Because there's no way possible that we're going to be able to move forward in this world and not at least acknowledge and figure out how do we, dismantle some of the systems that are being put in place, but also build more inclusive, equitable, and diverse environments for people to thrive in as well.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned the transition from the business sense to this is just the right thing to do, right? And I've seen companies and school systems, particularly, kind of, I don't want to say move into that already, because it's a journey, it's a marathon. This is not this work, right? But if you could just speak for a moment how it looks different for companies who were just kind of focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion from the business lens, but now there's this urgency to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion through the right thing to do lens, right? How does that look different in an organization, or how should it look different in an organization?
Well, it goes to people, right? And, we're in 2021 where the workforce is significantly driving the decisions that are being made by organizations, right? The workforce and the consumers, right? And so if your employee base is having certain demands on you, you have to adjust and you have to figure out how to solve that, because without any employees, there is no business. But also, we are, like today, we are very much so socially aware of what's going on around us. Now, I definitely attribute that to social media, because before, there's no way we could have spread information today like we have ever before, based on the tools that we have now. And so people are, especially this generation, that the younger generation is coming up, they're coming in the door saying, they want to know where company stances are on certain issues. They want to know what is positions and pretty much how does the organization align with them or their perspectives, rather than how do they align with the organization and their perspectives, right? And so it's really pushing more for, it's really an outcry for more authenticity and more realness. And that's what's been very interesting to see in serving the role that I serve in, and helping companies, identify and connect with their greatest purpose and how they want to represent their brands.
Yeah, I love that authenticity and realness. And not that companies, I'm not suggesting they were trying to hide behind authentic and being real, but certainly with the creation of so many chief diversity officer positions across the globe. I don't just mean the United States. I have seen Fortune 500 companies, and companies outside of the US create these roles to provide the authenticity and the realness, but also direction. We've had these initiatives and programs before, but I don't know how much direction that we've had. So I'm curious, because of the work that you do in your space as vice president, this work is very taxing.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable. Let's just be real. Nothing comfortable about calling out inequities or injustices, because it places people in positions of being on the defense, right?
Yeah.
So how can agents of change, those who want to support the work that you do in your organization and organizations across the nation, how can agents of change best support the work, right? And then the second part of that question is, what are some remedies for self-care? Self-care for you as a vice president, because oftentimes people may look at these roles as, oh, you can do this work because of your skin color, or you can do this work because of your background, or because of your degree. We don't talk a lot about self-care. So the two-part is, how can agents of change or allies best support the work, align themselves with those who are driving, but then also self-care for you and others who are relentlessly doing this work day in and day out?
Sure thing. And wow, very loaded questions. So let me, if I can just back it up just a little bit, because you said something really important when about the need for direction for this work, right? And one of the biggest piece that all counselors, all DE&I professionals, those who are helped, there needs to be some awareness of the landscape, right? And everybody's internal landscape and organizational landscape is different. That's why there's no cookie cutter strategy for that can be put in place for every organization, and it's going to be guaranteed to work. You have different people who come from different backgrounds, who have different experiences. You all do different things, and you have to understand where people are, because a big proponent of this work is meeting people where they are and bringing folks along the journey. And there's a lot of vulnerability that comes with this type of work. And as counselors, we have to really embody the empathy, so that as people are being vulnerable with us and telling us the things that they have never thought of or they've never had to do, or just they're like them not being able to know what's what, that we have to be able to show empathy towards that vulnerability and help them grow and move on. That's the only way we're going to be better. And that's the only way we're going to see the impact that we're hoping to drive with true diversity, equity, and inclusion. When it comes to for the allies, for those who have to support this role, it is really opening yourself up and trusting your DE&I counselors with the truth. We will not solve the problem if we keep trying to dress up the issue. So really open up the counselors and let them know, okay, like, what are you comfortable doing? What are you not comfortable doing? What are the issues that you see? And also, what is keeping you up at night when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, but also beyond just that, it's like what keeps you up at night with your entire business initiatives and imperatives, right? DE&I is not a standalone or a separate thing. It's really the most successful when it's integrated in every facet of the business. So as allies, it's really working with your counselors or your professionals to making sure they have a wide 360 view of the business that you're working in. On a personal note, extend grace, right? Because a lot of counselors, they're either counseling in the DE&I space for the first time. Some have been doing it for years. Some of them have made it a pivot, a career pivot. They've been doing one discipline like a DE&I next, like HR or communications or something else, and they're stretching themselves out and coming into the role. So no matter where somebody is in their experience level within the DE&I space, there is a level of grace that needs to be given, because like I said in my earlier point, there's not one company strategy is going to look the same, because you're going to have to identify specific areas of where you want to address to drive meaningful impact to see the changes that you want to see and recognize.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I really appreciate that. And then the last part of that question is just the remedies for self-care. And I'm talking specifically for those who are the leads of this work. Certainly be self-care for those who support the work, but the VPs, the chiefs, the directors, the coordinators all across the globe who feel not regretful or resentful, who feel guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty for taking off, guilty for taking, self-care days, right? Talk about that for a minute.
We have to set boundaries for ourselves, right? And professional boundaries as well as personal boundaries, to make sure that we can turn off and unplug and take care of self. And what is that? And unplugging and be able to okay, you're not going to be able to do everything in these 8 hours. You're going to have to say, okay, it's okay for this to wait the next 8 hours, right? We also have to remember that we are not the only ones. It's like the role of the DE&I officer or DE&I lead can be very lonely, because you're either one of the only or one of few, if you're lucky and you have budget and you have a team under you, where you are taking on all the organization's problems. And sometimes some councils take on even broader the whole world's problems, right? And I try to remind myself to put it in context that I am a part of a bigger community and a bigger network. And my role is to support and solve and work the space for in-booth health, because I have colleagues who are who may be a DE&I counselor at different agencies, who do communications at different organizations. We are all solving for our piece at our organization, because as a collective, when we all bring together, we're building a more equitable world, equitable businesses, equitable society. And so, in that same vein, don't be afraid to ask for help from other DE&I practitioners, because we are all facing some of the similar challenges. We are all having to help move people through their spectrum or through their journey. And so helping, it's like that knowledge sharing. So sharing, like finding ways to share knowledge with one another is really important as well. But going back to the boundaries piece, you know, set like, you know, if we sometimes we do have to work hours earlier or later, but like set the boundaries of what those early and late hours are going to be. And take breaks. You have to schedule breaks throughout the year, because if you do not and you try to go through your entire year working straight through, you will burn yourself out. Look at, if you have your strategy or you're building a strategy, look at key heat moments throughout your year and find out when you don't have heat moments and try to take at least a week or 3 to 4 days off just to kind of recalibrate, refresh, reset, because our work is really supporting the business. We're supporting emotions a lot of times. And then we're also counseling people up, down, and across our levels. And so it's really taxing on us, and you're gonna need that opportunity to recharge. Go out, see family, like me, myself personally, I surround myself with close family and friends. So when I do leave work, I'm like, work is off. I'm just here to laugh, hang out, chill, and just connect with folks and just, you know, be Eric. Not Eric, the VP of DE&I. They're the same person, but the DE&I Eric, he doesn't have to solve like the DE&I challenges with his family and friends. You just solve your regular family and friend challenges with them. That's all. And as much as you can, remember the reason why you chose this work and have fun doing it. This work is challenging, it's complicated, but it can also be fun if you make it that way.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yeah, we're at time now. We're giving so many nuggets, Eric, and I know our listeners will take heed to a lot of what you're saying. You can find Eric Mbooth, just the letter M, Booth, mbooth.com. You can find him and his work because he's doing some amazing things in this DE&I space. And so if you'd like to reach out for questions or consultation, I'm sure he's more than available. Those who are still listening, those who will watch this later on today or sometime next week, we do want you to join us for the Equity Summit, February 8th through 10th, 2022. It's virtual again this year. We had some amazing speakers last year, some senators, some governors. We had some superintendents, some college presidents, all of which are coming back this year, but we've extended the roster, and now we brought in a lot of CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, as well as some entrepreneurs who are doing some amazing, amazing work. So you don't want to miss the Equity Summit, February 8th through 10th, 2022. You can find us on theequitysummit.com. Thank you again to Mr. Eric Winkfield, who is a gem in this space we call DE&I. Love to hear all the great work that you're doing at your organization. They are lucky to have you. It's been a great interview.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.